Well, good morning and welcome to Ticket to Life. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. And welcome to Ticket to Life again. And I'm Henry, and thanks for giving me some of your valuable time to be here with you. Now, today we will be talking about what if you found out that you only have 24 hours left to live. And by this time tomorrow, you will be taking your very last breath here on earth. Not trying to be morbid. This is just a what if. What if? What would you do? So I'm going to give you some time to ponder about this before we jump into this topic. And I just want to send prayers to all those in the Texas Panhandle. For those of you who haven't heard, I don't know how you haven't. It's making national news about the wildfires. And to those in the Panhandle, I am sending out prayers to all of you who have lost their homes, their life, their way of living. And I hope that by the time this podcast actually airs, because all the podcasts are pre-recorded, that the fires will be under control and almost out. So no more lives will be affected by it. So let's all pray for these beautiful people in Texas, and just know that you are not alone, that many are praying and thinking of you. This wildfire has burned nearly 1.3 million acres as of March 5th. They continue to burn, and right now I think they said as of March 5th, they're like 13%. 13 or 15% is controlled. That's it. That's it. So many farmers and ranchers have also suffered this major loss. And reports that I've read say that there are dead animals everywhere. Now, this is, like I said, a major, major loss. I have a friend who her husband is a firefighter in a smaller town here in Texas, and they have sent him out there. He said the heat is so intense that many of the sheep, their wool is like singeing together. The sheep that they have been able to save. It's a horrible thing. Horrible. And also, like I said, I've read about the animals being everywhere. And with the estimates of that, thousands of cattle have died. And this is essential industry in this region. I mean, this is how these people live. So please keep praying for all those facing these wildflowers, and God be with all the first responders, volunteers who are helping fight the fires and aiding those in need. Now, if you want to help, you can actually, some of the food banks are putting together food to get down there. I don't actually know because every place is different, but I know here in Texas, everyone's trying to help and do, well, I say everyone, I hopefully. And if you can't help financially, if you can't help with food, then pray, because that is a top priority, is prayer. So I hope all of you have had a wonderful past week since last week. And let's get on to the topic. What if you had 24 hours left to live? Now, what got me to talk about this? Of course, I was listening to Father Michael Schmidt, that I like to listen to on the Hallow app. And I don't even know, he didn't even talk about the 24 hours. It just hit my head. Sometimes I hear things and I'm like, that would just be so interesting to talk about. And what if you did only have those 24 hours left? Like starting right now, you know that you won't be here tomorrow. That at this time tomorrow, you'll be taking your very last breath here on the planet. You're not sick. You're healthier than most people your age, whatever your age is. You have a good job. You have a good family. You have friends. You have a beautiful home. You have everything that could possibly be the almost perfect life. But what if? What would you do? When I was younger, I remember thinking, when I was much younger, I remember thinking I would go and buy myself something that I've always wanted. And you might think that too. Well, I've always wanted a huge diamond ring. I'm going to go buy that in this last 24 hours. Because I do remember, I don't know, then my mind's just the way it is. But I was much younger, and I remember thinking I would go buy everything that I always wanted. Now remember, I'm much, much younger thinking this. But now I know, and I remember that you can't take any of this stuff with you, and that's what it is. It's stuff. So how about, would you go and eat at that restaurant that you never wanted to spend the money on because it was an expensive restaurant, and eat everything you knew was bad for you? Would you call someone that you had misjudged and call them out on something that you later found out that you were wrong about? And would you call and apologize to them and say, okay, I remember? Or would you call the person that has been a pain in your beep and finally tell them how you really feel about them? Or contact that person who did you wrong and broke your heart and ruined your life forever? Well, honestly, they didn't ruin your life forever unless you allowed it. And if you allow it, well, you really can't blame them. You may have had to tweak your life a little bit. Or finally, walk out on that abusive relationship. Say, I got 24 hours. I'm out of here. And wished you would have done it years ago. Now, I have no idea what you would do and the doubt you would have. Would you sit there and sob the last 24 hours? I'm going to die. I do know that I would hopefully have things in order for my family, so they wouldn't have to deal with me and what are they going to do with the body? It's illegal to bury her in the backyard, they'd be saying. So many thoughts go through your head, or at least my head. And hopefully, if you're driving to work right now and listening to me on the radio or on your favorite podcast platform, you're paying. Hopefully, you're paying more attention to the road and not thinking, what would I do? So if you're listening to this on the radio, you can actually hear it on Apple or Spotify, and later focus on driving. So exactly, I don't know what I would do. I kind of think I know what I might do. But the other thing, would you start working on your obituary? Because, when something chaotic like a sudden death happens, people are at a loss. Your mind is, what do we do? Especially if you're the person who usually organizes everything. But if you leave it, the obituary, for someone to write, because they just pick somebody and they don't realize they're not that fond of you, it may just say, he lived and now he's dead. Or, of course, she lived and now she's dead. And then sometimes they'll even misspell your name, because more than likely, so many people know me, that have known me for years, still do not spell my name Henrie. They will spell it with a Y or just an I, Henrie. Okay, now all joking aside, what would you do? What do you think you would do? Some say they'd get together with loved ones and spend the moments of loving each other and forgiving. And yet, to forgive is so hard for some. We would rather those who hurt us, we would hope that they would be accountable and say, I'm sorry. But some people just don't and can't admit that they were wrong, or that they did something or said something wrong or something hurtful. They just can't. I don't know why, but they just can't. And we all know or have known someone like that. Or you may have someone in your life like that right now that you know that they hurt your feelings, and they have never apologized. Why? I don't know why people do that. And I mean, if you're wrong, you're wrong. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm a big girl now. I will say, okay, I was wrong about it, and I will apologize. But some people just don't want to be wrong. Everybody wants to be right. Well, no, you know what? It's okay to be wrong. The world keeps spinning if you're wrong. It's not going to stop because you were wrong about something. But we all know someone like that. But your last 24 hours, you just would have to move past that. If they're not willing to say they're sorry, you got to keep going. And perhaps make sure, another good thing was make sure your organs are going to be donated if they're healthy. And part of you will still be living and helping someone else to live. That's amazing. When you hear about these organ donors, they are living within, you saved someone's life. You may not be here at that moment, but you saved someone's life. And praying that you have lived your right life. And yes, you've had sin here and there. We all have. But walking with God will see you through the next 24 hours. If you make the time to talk to Him, even for 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, I don't have time, you might say. But if you make that time, as I have said, He is a great therapist, and He won't ask you any questions. He will just listen. And when was the last time you looked up at the blue sky or the stars at night? If you could make that time to spend with God, literally, it would be so helpful and healthful for you. But when you do this, if you just like, oh, I'm going to put 5 minutes a day and go sit outside. Oh, it's raining. Well, then look out the window. Find a peaceful place in your house. 5 minutes. Hopefully you can extend that time. But one of the most important things when you do this 5 minutes is put your stinking phone in the other room. And if you have a watch that connects to it, turn it off. 5 minutes. We all have 5 minutes. I bet if you have looked at your phone more than you have looked up at the sky in your lifetime, because these phones have just literally, as much as we all like technology and it's great, it's convenient, it's a computer in your hand, you can get access to your bank accounts, to shopping. We can do everything on these phones. Now, my oldest sister is smart. She still has a flip phone. She can text, and that's all she wants to do. And I think it's great. She is the smart one. She's got the flip phone, and people laugh. And I thought, no, she's really the smart one. She's not dragging this phone everywhere like we all are. Have you noticed you go out to dinner or lunch with friends or get together? And what's the first thing you normally see on the table? It's not a glass of water and your eating utensils. It's everyone has their phone out by their side. And I'm guilty of it too. I don't know who's going to call me. I'm not a doctor. If someone's pregnant with their child, they are not calling me, and I have to meet them at the hospital. I don't know what the importance for me is to have that phone out. And again, if you have a watch, like an Apple Watch, and it's connected, you can read your text there. So it's crazy how, again, I've got a podcast called The New Addiction, and it's about cell phones. We have let them control our lives, literally control our lives. We're checking our emails. We're doing this. And how many of us in the last 24 hours of our life are going to have that phone looking, texting friends, I'm saying goodbye. I got to go now. No. Again, I bet you have looked at your phone more than you have looked up and sat still and to be one with the earth that God created. And for those of you who don't believe in God, just try to open to the beauty that is given to us each and every day, because it's there for everyone. It's there. So sometimes we overlook it because we're just too busy. Because we do the busy. We make our busy. Busy isn't handed to us. We make our busy. Because at one point, You've got to learn to say no to certain things. To your kids, to your husband, to your wife, to your significant other, to your job. You've got to learn to say no. Oh, but I need to work. I can't say no. Well, you know what? You can always have that adult conversation. Say, I can't do this week, but I can next. I know we all have important jobs. We all have a life. But what if you just had 24 hours left? What? Would you make time for yourself? Honestly and deeply look into your life and think, what if I did have 24 hours left to live? I mean, someone just calls you and said, this is Joe Blow, and I'm telling you, you only have 24 hours left to live. Are you going to panic and worry? Well, how am I going to die? What's going to do? No, you do. You can't worry. Again, worry is just a waste of time. Things are out of our control. Use that energy to pray. Use that energy to focus on those that you love. And yes, I do not worry very much, but every so often I do worry about things. But it's just life is short. And some people wake up and start their day not knowing they aren't going to come home this evening because they could be in an accident. They could have a health issue they didn't even know they had, or they were killed by someone because everyone's killing everybody. The mass shootings are everywhere right now for some, I don't know if it's a trend or what the heck. Well, we've got to put a stop to that stuff. But it all starts with us as individuals. And I'm not trying to sound depressing, but these things happen unexpectedly each and every day. We don't know what will happen in our lives. We have no idea. I mean, I may not be here in the next 24 hours. You just don't know. So yes, I pray that you will live like it's your last each and every day. We don't need to have that warning that you only have 24 hours of life to live, to call upon those we love, get away from the abusive relationships, find help for addictions, and to forgive someone. These are things that I find so sad when someone passes away and you find out that their sibling, their best friend, didn't get to say goodbye because they were mad at each other because of something stupid, something silly. And yes, we do have the right to get upset about certain things in life. Yes, we do. And yes, we do have we have the rights to worry about things and rights to be sad. But some people dwell on that all the time. See what makes you happy, because when you're happy, trust me, your friends, but most importantly, your family will be happy. I just went to a wedding, a good friend of ours, and I think I have mentioned the people I worked with the school. I don't know how many of us there are, and we have just connected. And I look at that and say, what a blessing it is to have these people in my life. But if I were to get upset with one, I would have to be a big girl and just move on. I think life is just so short, and when so many of us waste so much time and energy not being able to let go of anger and hate. And those are the things that, trust me, they're not good for you. Health-wise, mentally, physically, they will just bog you down. But life is short. And we have to be the one, sometimes as hard as it is, to make that first step towards family. I mean, this is an election year. And, I don't talk politics, but this is an election year. And I think if people put more emphasis on being good and prayer on social media, but you have people putting snide remarks about politicians and people getting mad. And it's like, we don't even really know these people. And why are you defending them? Vote for who you think is going to be the right person for that position and move on. Yeah, you can say what you want, but you can always tell when someone is trying to get a rise. and see what they can start. And people get upset about that. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let a politician or any type of thing like that ruin my friendship or my family. And we do that. I have friends that I've had for a long time, and they will post some stuff on social media, and I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm glad you know who you're going to vote for, and you think that this person is almost uh, close to being the son of God, because guess what? They're not. They're far. I'm sorry. When it comes to I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk about politicians or political events, but no. I like to pray for our country, and I pray that we get good leaders. These wars that are everywhere, we've got to be able to pray for peace in the world. And again, these are all my opinions. And you may go, oh, she's got a point. Or you might say, this woman has no idea what she's talking about. So please remember that, again, life is short, and be one with God. And you may get answers you weren't even looking for. And things occur to us daily, and sometimes we don't realize that was really a blessing. Sometimes, let's say, I hate being late, and let's say I'm supposed to be at a doctor's appointment or meeting someone for lunch, whatever. And for some reason, I'm running late because, I don't know, just some I couldn't find my shoes. Well, I'm pretty organized. I always know where my shoes are, but I can't find something. I can't find my car keys. Let's put that. And I'm running late. I get in the car, and I'll take 5-10 minutes late. Sometimes I think me being late was a purpose that God had me be late for a reason. I could have avoided an accident. I could have avoided seeing an accident or someone was major wounded, or I could have avoided hitting someone, a child crossing the street. Or I think that sometimes we have these little obstacles that get put in our way, and it's for a reason. This is how I just am, because it's just who I am. If I say let's say we're going to Kansas and we're going to drive, it's an 8-hour drive, and my husband and I decide, okay, we're going to leave early. This is how my mentality. We will be in the car by 6:15, no later than 6:30, and be on the road. Well, if we don't make it at 6:15 or 6:30, guess what? Kansas isn't going anywhere. We're running late. And that's just the way I think. And sometimes when I do that, I think, oh, there's a purpose for that. There's a purpose for me running late. There's a purpose that I forgot to turn something in. There's a purpose for lots of things. But of course, that's just my thinking. You don't have to think like me. But I don't want you to think like me. That could be dangerous in this world. But please remember, again, these are all my thoughts and my opinions. And hopefully you will think about the important people and not the things in your life that have upset you. Think about the things you do have in your life, the positive things, the good people sometimes people don't realize how blessed they are, that they have family that love them. They have friends who love them. They have a job. They have clothes on their back. That they're not having to scrounge money to go get some coffee. And hopefully you have enough. And sometimes I remember there were times like that for me. It's like, oh, how much money do I have so I can go buy a soda? These are the things we need to be grateful for. And it's just a simple thing. But if you think about those important things and not the people are so important in our lives. And it's the people you put in your lives. We all have some negative friends or family members. And those are the people that are in your life because you care for them. But if they're putting a damper in your life, just keep them at a good length away from you. And be with those that you love and those that love life as you love it. So tomorrow, when you realize it's 24 hours since you've heard this podcast, I hope you can take a big sigh of relief and thank God for yet another day, because you lived for more than 24 hours. We have so much to be thankful for, and sometimes we just tend to forget. So what would you do if you had 24 hours left to live? Honestly, what would you do? What do you think you would do? Today is the day that you could go and really start changing your life. And just those people that you haven't spoken to in a long time, but you've really missed having in your life, it's your opportunity. And if you are if it's really hard for you to make amends with someone, you can always do it old school. Get a card. Get a sheet of paper. And handwrite. Don't send them something that you have typed up. Handwrite it. Take that time. Because sometimes when you handwrite something, the art of writing letters and cards and notes is being forgotten, unfortunately. It just means a lot more to people for some reason. When I get a thank you note, I think they took time out for me. Less than 5 minutes, they took time out for me to say, hey, thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much for always being my friend. I want to ask you I hope we can make everything right, because life is short and I miss you in my life. So, this is Henrie, and thank you for listening. And you can hear Ticket to Life on most podcast platforms, and tell your friends about Ticket to Life. Please, please go find your blessings, because they are all around you. You can also listen to Ticket to Life every Thursday morning on WDJY 99.1 FM at Metro Atlanta at 7 a.m. So hopefully if you're in the Atlanta area, you can hear me. So until next week, go find your blessings.